Hello, this is Nick Dillon with Scalability Experts, and this video is a short introduction and demo on our internal SE Smart tool. First of all, SE Smart captures essential SQL Server metrics, and by this we mean performance counters. That's one metric that we collect, commonly known as perfmon counters. What these provide to us is information about the particular servers or instances, the memory, CPU, and I/O information. All that's stored within SE Smart. Query statistics can also be stored. We can answer questions such as how long is one particular query running, how many queries ran a particular day for this database, which users ran the query. Usage statistics, which users are concurrently logged in to our servers over the course of time, and also uptime. Also, we can integrate service level agreements in with this data. So not only can we see real live data, but we can compare it to our service level agreements as well. Also, we can store all these metrics in the true data warehouse. What this allows us to do is store large amounts of historical information over the course of years. It's a lot of information to be stored and to analyze. We can also, storing this in the data warehouse also provides us quick analysis of this data. So once the data is imported from the servers that we're monitoring, we can format it in such a way to where we can analyze this data very quickly. What can SE Smart do for me? Well, SE Smart can answer questions. What questions can SE Smart answer? Well, when would I run out of hard drive space? It's a common question. SE Smart can answer that. What does my CPU utilization look like year to date? If we have a year's worth of CPU information, we can see if we're trending upwards or downwards on a particular server or instance. Over the course of the past year, what are my top 10 queries? That might be very helpful. Perhaps, one query is used more than the others, and we can compare and see what the utilization is for each query. What is the maximum concurrent users on server A for the past month? We can look at the user statistics on a particular server if we like to. Those are some of the questions that SE Smart can answer. And how does SE Smart do this? Well, first of all, SE Smart has a framework. It's not just one component, it's a conglomerate of many components, and it's all Microsoft products. It starts with SQL Server, with integration services. Analysis services is also in our framework. And we perform a lot of ETL functions within our framework. We store historical data, and we have cubes as well. How do we import all this data? Well, SE Smart framework, it's kind of in its own little area. And then the monitored servers are obviously what we're monitoring and collecting data off of. And we use this, do this by using the out-of-the-box SQL Server MDW, the Management Data Warehouse. This is not something that we built. This is something from Microsoft that's already been tested and deployed and currently available with the Enterprise Edition of SQL Server. So we can configure MDW to pull the data into SE Smart. And you can have X amount of servers that you can monitor. Once the data is in SE Smart, we do the ETL. We transform the data into dimensional models. We have a cube, and we have the historical data where we can go back and compare over the course of months or years if you want to. So once we have that data, we can present that data in SharePoint or Excel. We do this with MDX. Basically, we pull the information straight off the cube. Like I said before, it's very quick. We can do quick analysis on this, and the charts update as we update the filters. And we can also use Excel if we really want to dive down into the numbers. So let's see SE Smart in action. What we see here is SharePoint. We have a dashboard. This is all part of the SE product. We created these dashboards, and the information contained within these dashboards and scorecards is actually the data within the SE Smart data warehouse. These are called pages here at the top, and currently we're on the DBA view page. The next line down is our filters. We can pull down our server list here. We can see that we have a hierarchy of different servers. If we drill down into these, we can see that for this particular client, we have our servers broken down by domain, and we also have it broken down by particular customers. Under each customer, we have different instances of SQL Server. So we can select one of those, and once we click on one of those, the numbers update in our dashboards below. Not only can we filter by the server or instance name, we can also filter by time. So if we were just interested in Q3 data for 2011, we could just apply that filter and our page updates. Basic information over here to the left, SQL activity. So for this particular server or instance, for this particular time frame, here's our transactions per second, batch requests per second. Just very basic information about this particular server over the course of this time frame. We have disk free space information. So for this particular instance or this server, we have 2 drives, and we can have a scorecard, and we can see how much free disk space. In this particular server, there's only 2.6% free disk space, so we give that a red sign here to let us know that we're running low on disk space. Over here in the middle column, we have memory scorecard, CPU, and disk scorecards. So all the metrics we see under the memory scorecard are pertaining to memory. We have a minimum, maximum, average. Remember, this is just for one particular instance over the course of this time frame. Same thing for CPU and disk scorecard. Over here to the right, we have a memory counter chart. This is basically, if we look at the information up here, we can see we're currently looking at available megabytes. We can see at 8 o'clock on, or of course, this is over the course of Q3 2011, so this is the average over the course of that time at 8 o'clock, what our available memory looks like. So over the course of the whole quarter, we can see that if we hover over this blue line, we can see that that's the max value. So that's our available our memory is peaking here at 8 o'clock, but the average doesn't go so high. And then the green line is the minimum. So we can look at these metrics at a quick glance and see what's going on over the course of a day. To drill down to a particular day, we can certainly do that as well. So let's uncheck Q3, and let's drill all the way down to September the 25th. So now we're just seeing data for one particular day. We can see that our available memory looks a lot different for this particular day. If we look down here at the CPU chart, we can see at 1 o'clock in the morning to about 4 o'clock in the morning, we have a peak in CPU usage, and the average actually goes up as well. So we know that the server was actually performing a lot of work around this time frame. Same thing for the disk usage. This is average disk queue length. We can see its performance throughout the day here as well for that particular day on September the 25th of 2011. SE Smart also allows us to track trends within our data. So not only can we store data historically, we can also use that data to do predictive analysis and kind of see or forecast into the future. For instance, CPU utilization. For this particular server, we can see over the course of the past 10 days by this blue line what our CPU utilization looks like. It kind of goes up and kind of goes down, but we can use this red line, which is actually a trend line, and that's going to expand out into the next 10 or 12 days and kind of show us where we're headed as far as CPU utilization is concerned on this particular server. So we can see that the CPU utilization is actually trending upwards. So that might be something we can look into or keep our eye on to see if that particular server needs to be upgraded, or if it's a virtual server, if we need to allocate more resources to it. Same thing with the memory and also with the disk space. We can see that this particular server has multiple drives, so we have different lines for each drive. We can hover over each line and see which drive it's actually referring to. That happens to be the D drive. And we can see that the D drive is slightly trending downward. The C drive is actually staying very consistent, so that's a good sign. But we need to keep our eye on the D drive. But for the foreseeable future, it's nothing to be worried about at this point. We can also track individual databases. So we can see up here at the top that we have a familiar hierarchy, but not only does it go down to the instance level, now it also goes to the database level. So for instance, we're on this domain for the March of Dimes client for this particular instance in this database. And notice that it says friendly name 7023P. Well, the actual database name is actually a GUID for this particular client. So we also have the capability to allow the end user to give like friendly names to their databases, so it's easier to read when they're in SharePoint. Currently, that's all 2011 data. Let's spread that out to October. And we can see for this particular database, for this particular time frame, we can look at our disk usage chart. So this particular database, this is how much it's using disk. And we can kind of see that these days there was nothing happening. And then these few days we had a lot of activity. Some of this blank data may be where they actually turned the server off and we just didn't have any data at all. We can also look at the database size chart, so we can drill down into the same time frame and see what our information looks like here. So maybe they were doing some maintenance on these days, but we can also kind of get an idea of the database size with the chart below. Also perform query analysis with the SC Smart data. So we can see here we have a familiar filters up here at the top. We have the instance name in a time frame. So we're looking at all of 2011 and we're looking at this particular instance. And then each bar represents one particular day and each color represents a different query. So if we hover over these bars, we can see that this is query 7928 is this blue bar. And every day it seems to be taking up the most elapsed time. Not the same every day, but definitely the majority. And I call this query 7928 because imagine trying to see this whole query in the tooltip text. It really wouldn't format very well, and some queries are very long, so it's hard to display. So we shorten that down to a unique identifier, currently a 7928. However, in the background, the DBA or the user of the system can also update that 7928 to a friendly name. So they can call that, query A, run from user B's desk or something like that. So they can give that a friendly name so they don't have to look at a number. And also in the back end of the database, they can also see the actual query if they want to drill down that far. But this gives them a basic overview of the query usage over the past few days. Also with SC Smart, we can look at SLAs and compare those to our performance metrics. For example, if you look under the target columns that you see here, we can see that for this particular server, we've set an SLA of 20,000 available megabytes of memory. But in actuality, we've only had 4,817 actual available memory megabytes available to us. So that's a difference of 76%. So we give that a red stoplight. And if it's like around 60%, we give it a yellow stoplight. If it's fairly close to our service level agreement, we give it a green stoplight. And all these bandings are adjustable if we want to adjust them. Also, we can see over here that we have information about our SLAs over time. So if we drill down into Q3, into September, we can look at each day. We can see that our SLA remains consistent each day, obviously. And here on the blue line is our actual figures and how they compare to the SLA. Same thing for the disk queue length. We can drill down and see how this works over time. We can see on one particular day we were way above our SLA, but most of the time we're way below for the disk queue length. Same thing for the CPU. Gives us a good idea of how we're comparing to our SLAs. And also over here, it's just a query pie. So basically, all these charts update based on which server that you click over here. So right now we're looking at one particular instance for all of 2011. And here's just our query pie for that. And we can hover over and see that this is query 3918. We can look in the background and see what that actual query is. But we can see that it's taken up at least over a quarter of the total elapsed time for this particular server. We can also look at concurrent users. So for this particular server or instance, we can look over the course of 2011, drill down into that and see we have data for October. We can drill down in October and look at our usage on a per user basis across days for that particular month. We see right here is a max of 3 concurrent users. Sometimes it's down to 1, sometimes it's only 2. Also, we can look at it by time as well. If there was a lot of activity here, we could look at the average usage per time of day. We can also look at uptime. We can drill down into September and see that our uptime was pretty low on September the 18th of 2011 for some reason. At this point, we could go back and look at our query analysis perhaps, or just look at our performance counters to kind of see what was going on that particular day. But this just gives us a high-level overview of our uptime for this particular instance across this time frame. But what you see here is basically a generic presentation, has basic data, and obviously we can add on to this as we go. So that concludes our demo for today. Thanks everybody for watching.